Thank you for having me. My name is Rebecca Moskowitz, and I am the Executive Director Advancement for the Association of Waldorf Schools of North America, and I am here to present Learning Culture and Outcomes of Waldorf Education. I have a PowerPoint presentation for you today. So Waldorf education began in 1919 in Germany to educate the children of the workers of the Waldorf Astoria cigarette factory. And this became sort of a pioneer school of social justice because it took on students of any race and any background. There are now over 1,000 Waldorf schools worldwide, which means Waldorf is one of the largest independent school movements. The mission of Waldorf and the goals of Waldorf. The goal of Waldorf education is actually quite simple, and it's not unlike the goal of parenting. It's to develop healthy adults who are happy, self-directed, and interested in the world around them. It's a social goal. It's to cultivate a love of learning, and in doing so, develop free thinking, morally responsible global citizens. Waldorf school pedagogy places equal importance on the following three pillars, and I'd like you to hold these as sort of the three main components or tenets of Waldorf education. One is social emotional learning, another is experiential learning, and the third is integrative intellectual and cognitive achievement. So I'd like to split up each of those and speak a little bit about them. The social emotional learning. Often in Waldorf education, a class will have one main teacher for up to 8 years, 1st through 8th grade. Sometimes it's 1st through 4th, sometimes it's all through 8th grade, and then in high school, there's differentiation of teachers. As you can imagine, this creates a very strong bond among the students, the parents, the teachers, and all of us together. Also in a Waldorf school, grades and formalized testing are introduced later, not until the upper grades. Instead, storytelling, projects, experiments, and brain games are used as challenging academic tools. The culture of learning in a Waldorf school prioritizes human interactions and unmediated learning experiences over the use of screens, computers, and smart devices, especially in the lower grades. This low-tech approach creates greater social interaction among peers. Now I'd like to talk about the experiential and sort of kinesthetic style of learning that takes place, again, from our early childhood all through the 12th grade. We're a project-based collaborative learning environment. There's movement in every class, there's experimentation going on in every class. And I also want to bring this point home by quoting a psychologist by the name of William Glasser. He did some research, an American psychologist, and he talked about learning styles and retention of learning. And he showed that when reading, we retain about 10% of what we've read. When we're listening, we retain about 20%. When we're seeing and observing, about 30%. However, when we experience something, we experience about 80%. We retain about 80% of that learning. And that is what we try and do in every day of every lesson in a Waldorf school. I would also mention through this experiential learning that our subjects of main lessons are taught in blocks so that a teacher delves into a subject with the class for up to 3 or 4 weeks for 2 hours every morning, whether that's teaching reading in 1st grade or teaching about radiation in 8th grade. And finally, I want to mention integrative and interdisciplinary thinking. This is also something that takes place from the earliest of grades all the way through 12th grade. In the early grades, even in early child, they're navigating social interactions. They're helping to set the table. They're counting. They're talking to their teachers about things that are going on with each other and their students. And in the high school, these are the following things that are addressed in detail: critical thinking, ethical decision making, assimilation of information over rote memorization of facts. This is done primarily through the use of storytelling all through the high school. Courage to take educational and intellectual risks, public speaking throughout the school, leadership skills, project management, and being goal-oriented. And I also would now like to mention some of the outcomes of the culture of learning of Waldorf education. Nearly 100% of our graduating students attend college. 47% choose to major in humanities and arts. 42% choose a major in math or science. 91% are active in lifelong education and learning. 92% place a high value on critical thinking. Where do our graduates go? They go to Oberlin, Bard, University of Colorado, Hampshire College, Earlham College, New York University, Sarah Lawrence, Emory University, and many, many, many more places. And I would like to share some other outcomes with you. I took the opportunity of reaching out to some of my former students who are now in their 20s and 30s, and I asked them to share with me what they received from Waldorf that they still use today in their everyday lives as adults. And here are some of the things that they said. Waldorf fueled my curiosity and my creativity, and still does. I felt free to be myself when I was in Waldorf. The person matters, not just the grades. Waldorf is dynamic learning. You have to do everything in Waldorf, whether you're good at it or not, so you learn everything. Waldorf showed me the value of an interdisciplinary approach to my work and my life. And I would just like to close with a few statements of my own as a veteran Waldorf teacher of over 20 years. So these are the things that I can attest to. Waldorf students, early childhood through 12th grade, love to come to school. I just would like that to sit with all of you for a moment. They love to come to school. They do not want to miss it. And therefore they love to learn and develop a love of learning. Learning is enlivened and fun and interesting. The culture of the classroom is a safe space to take intellectual, emotional, and artistic risks. It's a place to challenge yourself, stretch, and grow. Waldorf graduates have confidence and poise in their lives and care about the world and its people. Thank you very much for taking time to listen to me today.